Hello everyone, welcome to the React UI session. So, if you want to follow my page, you can follow us on Java and React Twitter on LinkedIn. Let me getting into that React UI. So, why we are getting into that React UI technology? It is a component-based architecture. Let's say so it is a reusable components. It will be created. If you go to that HTML page or any other technology, UI technology, you have to create each pages. Bit difficult to reuse that. So improving that performance is very difficult. And then as well as getting that updates, whatever fetching from the API level. So getting updates, it is very difficult. That's why React is introduced. So here, if you see building up a complex UIs, let's say if you have a large number of or n number of UI pages, so that we can to manage it. Some components will be reused, and then rendering performance we need to enlarge it. So whenever it loads every time, if you see other UI technologies and all, every component re-render will happen. So, but if you see in the React side, there is an advanced benefits or most performance-based benefits comes from the React side, which means virtual DOM we are using. That's why we are going ahead with the UI feels manageable instead of painful. We are saying so it will be a dynamic as we know. So whenever any components data change from the backend API or you are trying to change it or whenever you are giving an input, so that data needs to be rendered quickly and then the data changes needs to be updated properly and then as well as user interaction. So we will be saying virtual DOM concept, right? It is an update concept. So let's think about the state to the UI. Okay. So whenever the data changes, the UI should look like this. For example, if you see UI needs to update whenever I click at account, it has to print the details about that. For example, if you are clicking shopping cart, any product, so it has to give all the description. So when if I click second product, it has to immediately update the second product details about that. So this re-rendering between that communication with the components, if you see other languages and all, it is a bit difficult to manage it. But if you see in the React side, it is a very good component-based architecture, and then as well as we do have a feature of virtual DOM. So we no need to manually do or update anything with the DOM. So it will handle as it is. So once we build, actually, we are generating that build, and then we can use anywhere. And then self-contained, we will be saying we'll be having in components. I will give the one example how it will be going ahead with the styling and then UI. So easier to maintain and then scale large app actually. If you see any components updated, we can go ahead with the library update, JavaScript library update. We can go ahead with that. So currently we do have an implementation with JavaScript, either TypeScript we can go ahead. So let me get into that simple JavaScript concept. Let me create an app. We will go technically. That will be an best for us actually. Let me go ahead with that, creating an app. So you have to install the latest NPM version. So later than that, React should be installed. I will give in the prerequisites. So in that, you can take care about that installation. Let me create an app, create React app. So I'm giving some Java. So I'm creating one app. It's installing React DOM, and then scripts as well. Let it install. Let me get into that, get back to that slides. So I'm getting into that features. So what is the React features currently we do have? So as I mentioned, it is a component-based architecture. So we do have an reusable concept. And then excellent feature in React. Currently, we are going ahead with that functional components. And then one more thing, class-based components also there. We can extend React and then we can implement that states, different states. And then if you bring up that next one, declarative UI. So we can design as our own. That is the point about it. And then next, as I mentioned, virtual DOM, when the states changes, how efficiently it will be changing that UI. I will give give a brief diagram. So it will give you how that updates will happen in the React DOM side. So as I mentioned, in the virtual DOM, lightweight copy of the DOM. So it will differentiate the changes and then it will update only whenever or whatever necessary, it will update. That is the key point to fast rendering. So next thing, when I talk about that next feature, states and props. So if you see props and all, whenever component to component, when we need to pass the data, read-only data, we can't change or we can't modify. It will be going through props. That is read-only, we can say. And then states, for example, in that functional component, we do have a states. So local states, mutable data inside the component we are doing. So whenever click, I have to update some data like that. Feature, we can use that states. So next, if I'm talking about that next feature, before that, let me get into that that app is created, get created. Yeah. So that app got created. We can get into that folder and then I wanted to open that folder in this. So I'm opening up. So this is the structure of that app. So node modules, whatever modules or libraries we need, so it will be installed through that. And then public folder is there. So whenever build got generated or output of that, so it will be pointed to this index.html. And the necessary part is app.js. In this app.js, whatever mentioned, it will be rendered, final render. So we can see index.js, right? So this is a major one. Every application having a root. So via this React DOM create root, it will be pointed to the root element. So it will be rendered over here. So here the strict mode is there. We will talk about later about that. So this app tag will be pointed to the our functional component here. So that is a major part. And then if you go ahead with that package.jn, this is the entry point of all libraries, what it will happen, run command, build command, test, eject command, and then React, what under libraries needed, which version of React is installed, which version of DOM is installed. All those libraries will be automatically get installed via this. So let me get into that app. So I'm opening up the terminal to run and see that result of that application. If you simply trigger about that npm start, it will run on the default browser. For example, I do have an Chrome browser, so it will be running through that Chrome browser. So it will run on the 300 port actually. So currently that app is running on the 3000 port, sorry. So it will be generating and then it will be running on the UI. This is what we have designed inside that. So let me quickly change something and then we can see that update over here. So I wanted to add some one more div. If I wanted to add, I can go ahead and add it. So I am putting inside the paragraph tag. Yeah, it will be updated and then rendered into our browser. So if you see Java and React Twitter app example, everyone can create this and then they can experience this component. So let me come back to the actual session. So next feature is hooks actually. So you wanted to communicate with that different components. So we have to, or by default inbuilt hooks will be available in that React. So if you see, it has a life cycle of each component. Whenever we create that states, use effect, whenever go to the functional component, we want to see that updates in the functional component, we can go ahead with the use effect. And then use context, it will be allowed to communicate all the components, whatever you created. For example, if you created 10 functional components, it will be allowed to communicate that data via use context. That is short time of or small piece of data you have to communicate with the all other components. We can go ahead with the use context and then use reducer. So whenever you are creating unstructured data, so it will be placed as a key value pair like that. But typically it has some structure, JSON structure, it will be going ahead. It will be stored, for example, I have a key one, key two. So it will be specifically if you want to reduce that, you have to create a structure and then you have to put it as a JSON forward. You can use a reducer and then use memo and then use callback. This is actually efficient loading and then efficient running. So memo will be large number of options or operations, large number of operations will be cached and then it will be served the result. And then if you see use callback, it will be an like an method will be cached. Whenever we calls, actually it will be processed via use callback hook. And then if you come again with that unidirectional data flow, so how that data will be flowed? If you see in Angular technology, two-way communication. So if I'm sending the data to the component one to component two, it will be taken back from the component two to one. But here it is an actually one-way communication. For example, parent to child, it will be communicated via props. That is read only, so we can't send back with that to the parent. That is on feature is there. So it will increase the efficiency. If you want, you can go ahead with the use context, or we can go ahead with the Redux library also. So here it will help mostly communication and then easier to reason about and debug. Debugging is very easy here as we see. Let me get into that next feature. So concurrent rendering. So React can pause, resume, abandon rendering, and then enable smoother UI as we explained earlier. Better performance. We do have a virtual DOM concept, strong ecosystem, and then on top of this, actually React, we do have an essential feature to communicate or traverse, we have to route one component to another component. Like that, React router concept is there. Next one, as I mentioned previously. So the data, if you want to communicate or you want to cache temporarily within that application lifecycle or within that entire application lifecycle, you can go ahead with the Redux. And then if you see Next.js, recent technology, as we mentioned, test libraries also there. We can go ahead with all the testing, unit testing. Yeah, we can go ahead and do it. So currently, most of the application runs on React 18. So we are migrating all the application to the 19 version. So what and all feature included in the 18. So we can see create route, auto batching, use transition, how the transition one component to another component it has to go. And then another hook is like an use deferred value. So use deferred value means actually it is an keeping that variable or value as an silent. We are not using frequently. So that kind of situation you can go ahead with the use defer value. And the next one is on suspense improvement. Whenever you are fetching something or consuming the data to render in the UI, so the suspense will be allowed to give the preloading feature. So it will help to improve that user interaction. User will not feel bad whenever that loading will happen or complex operation behind it is running means it will be allowed the suspense tag. So big performance and then UI UX experience, we can say CSS properties, and then how flexing model working actually, all those things we can tell. Mm. If we talk about that React, uh, 1 second. So if we talk about that React 19, we can get into that simplifying app logic, we can say. Mostly how we are creating and components, how that logic will be simplified over here. That is focused. So if you see, in addition, action. So whenever user having an action, this is form based. So form get success whenever it is loading or failure or any errors, synchronous error. So whenever we are trying to load the data or components, those kind of things handle in the action side. And then action state, what are all states available in that action, whether loading or complete, ready. Same way for form status as well. So once that is loading is completed, so what are all the components available? For that, we can specifically use form status. So here actually we are bringing up use client and then use server. So how that server will work here? So if I wanted to fetch something from the APIs, that will react as a server to communicating with the data. If you see client side script, how it will be rendered. So it will be having an own logic. It will be rendered over in the component level. So that feature is introduced. So better integration framework like Next.js and all, we can easily utilize it. And then auto memoization and then fewer hooks needed. So these are all things are improved in the React 19. So that's pretty much about today. So this is like a basic understanding of React. So how that app will be created, how we are running. So initial getting started, I have gone through. So next session, each topic we are covering in deep. For example, class components, how it will be utilized. Mostly we are not using class components. We have a drawback. We have to maintain each and every states. But functional, it will be handled through use effect. So most preferably, we are going ahead with that use effects with the functional component. That is a benefit for that. Those are differentiation and then how hooks will be created, how hooks will be states and props, how we are utilizing it. So all those information I will cover in the next session. So any questions, you can post it in the chat window, and then we can I will answer after this session. So I'm done from my side today's session. Thank you all for joining with me. And then last session, whatever Java 8 feature I have covered, you guys created an list of queries, and then I have sent an replay as well. So you can kindly go through. Thank you all for this session. Nice talking with you all. Bye bye. Take care.